Hey everybody, welcome to DadsDen of Pop Culture. We're talking about a little bit of maybe classic animation today. It all sort of started one morning. I wake up, it's like 4 a.m. I can't get back to sleep. I mean, I'm tired, but I just can't get back to sleep. I decide, get up, get some coffee, throw on the TV. Happened to be MeTV Toons. And the cartoon that popped up was the Plastic Man Comedy Adventure Show. I had not seen it in a long time, and I got to tell you, I had a really good time with this thing. So let's take a look at this cartoon. I don't know if I'd say it's exactly forgotten, but it doesn't seem to rest in the pantheon of Saturday morning animation. Perhaps, though, it should. And I'll tell you, if you're sort of in an exhausted state, it may be the perfect cartoon to watch. It's like a fever dream. Has a goofiness level reminiscent of The Tick and Venture Brothers, although like Venture Brothers, without the edge. And if you think about it, it really makes sense. Plastic Man is really the perfect character for a fun, silly superhero cartoon. As envisioned by the creator, Jack Cole, he was always kind of a cartoon character. I mean, he's about as close as you can get, drawing-wise, to like a Bob Clampett cartoon, without the actual animation. And the animators really do their best to sort of get that crazy 40s cartoony stuff into the show, even though they were working, like I said, with limited animation. Just imagine if there'd been a Plastic Man series back in the 40s. I mean, the character was there. You could have gotten Warner Brothers, Bob Clampett, and those things would probably be as legendary as Fleischer's Superman. Well, at any rate, even though the execution is sometimes a little bit rough, the imagination is always on display. That's Plastic Man, who is masquerading as like a roast chicken. It's really quite disturbing. So in the intro, they say action, comedy, and danger. And you really do get all of those things. Now, the show ran, like I said, from 79 to 81. Episodes were about 120 minutes long from 79 to 80, because it was an anthology that also included Mighty Man and Yuck, Fangface, and Rickety Rocket. Now, from 80 to 81, it was shrunk down into its own half-hour little show, and it was shown along with Thundarr the Barbarian, which is probably why I was watching it, and Heathcliff and Dingbat. Developed by Joe Ruby and Ken Spears. Legendary. They were really kind of behind Scooby-Doo, which is the template for so much Saturday morning animation back in the 70s, back in the 80s. Writers included Mark Jones, who created the Leprechaun movie franchise. Are you getting an idea of these guys and who's behind this now? Also, Ilana Lesser, Cliff Ruby, directors including Rudy Lariva, who had worked with Chuck Jones, did some later Warner Brothers cartoons, Manny Perez, Charles A. Nichols, who co-directed Charlotte's Web, great cartoon movie from way back, and John Kimball. So let's get into this show. Plastic Man character is voiced by the great Michael Bell, who sometimes suggests a little Maxwell smart in his delivery, but it's not overly done. In this incarnation, instead of Woozy Winks as his sort of little sidekick, we get Hula Hula, voiced by Joe Baker. He's this Hawaiian dude, kind of talks like Lou Costello, and he's a jinx, very clumsy, always causing problems. Now, Plastic Man's gal pal is Penny, who, let's be honest, is actually way out of his league, and, but hopes that he's famous and that she just thinks he's the greatest thing since sliced bread, refers to him as her fantastic elastic lover boy. The mind boggles. They were having some fun making this show. He answers to the Chief, who honestly looks a little bit like Tulsi Gabbard does now. That's that little streak of gray in the hair. Anyways, seems like Plastic Man might have a thing for the Chief, who doesn't share those feelings, while Penny has a thing for Plastic Man. You got a love triangle here just dripping with dramatic potential. Dramatic potential they're not going to really exploit other than for cartoons. Now, both Penny and the Chief are voiced by Melindy Britt, who also voiced She-Ra, Princess Aura in Filmation's Flash Gordon, really good, and also Batgirl for Filmation and Catwoman. And let's all be honest, geeks of a certain age, her voice was kind of hot. I mean, it just was. So, you know, we might as well admit it. The team has this vertical takeoff landing airplane that's painted to look like Plastic Man. McFarlane Toys, if you're looking for ideas for your superpowers range, might I suggest this? And of course, Plastic Man. And of course, a Penny figure wouldn't hurt either. Okay. They also have this very cool car. So let's take a look at some scenes from Plastic Man Meets Disco Mummy. Yes, that's the episode that I watched. And it originally aired January 12th, 1980. So I would have been, 7 years old when it first aired. It's going to give you a good indication of what to expect from the other episodes. And we're also going to take a look at some of the villains in this series because they are pretty damn amazing. So we begin in the jungles of Mexico in an Aztec ruin where two archaeologists have found the lost treasure of Cortez, which they make sure to tell us belongs to the Mexican people and will be displayed in a museum. So Indiana Jones would be proud. But just as Indy often got his relics stolen by some French dude, our archaeologists have their booty pinched by the Disco Mummy. This is what hooked me on the series, folks. The Disco Mummy. Why is an ancient Aztec mummy into disco? Don't know. Don't care. She looks awesome. She has an excellent logo, and that's all that really counts. But truly, though, you kind of get the reference I made to The Tick or Venture Brothers with a character like this. So what follows is pretty standard for your late 70s, early 80s cartoon fare, just like you would expect from Ruby Spears or Filmation or Hanna-Barbera. The heroes journey down to the jungle in search for Disco Mummy. That's Plastic Man's ear, by the way, spying on what they're saying in her really awesome van. They're attacked by Disco Mummy and her henchmen along the way. Plastic Man has to use his powers to foil these attacks. That's him as a spring knocking a big boulder out of the way. He ends up captured and turned into Disco Mummy's obedient servant and dance partner. But he comes out of it when he has to fight an alligator after, I believe, being knocked overboard by Hula Hula. He ultimately wins the day. As I said before, the animation is pretty average in this for the time. And the jokes are okay. They're not terrible, but, you know, they're for kids. It's late 70s, early 80s. It's kind of dad joke territory. But the joy of the series, like I say, is really in the villains and the absurdity. So let's take a look at a few of the better members of the Rogues Gallery, both from a design standpoint and just from a weird standpoint. This is Dr. Frost. We have the Weed, a creepy plant guy who wears a trench coat and flop hat, creates a giant plant monster to destroy Lima, Peru, and his henchmen are Pete and Moss. Maybe it's a lima bean reference. I don't know. That's the plant monster taking out Plastic Man's airplane. We got Dr. Irwin, scientific genius who becomes Carrot Top. No, that's not Carrot Top. Mr. Meteor when he touches a piece of a meteor. And he's also the world's greatest ventriloquist. His device for drawing down the meteor, though, reminded me of another mad scientist in the classic Fleischer Superman film, that magnetic telescope. And there's even a bit where the meteor has the same effect on Penny, who becomes giant. And yeah, you could do some weird, anyways. Next up, we have the Clam. Not just a clever name. He lives in an aquarium, so he actually is clam-sized, and he looks like something out of SpongeBob SquarePants, which, of course, in my opinion, is a good thing. Oh, and the episode is called Wham Bam, Beware the Clam. He does have a very cool submarine. You could have really made a very cool toy line out of the Plastic Man cartoon. There's a lot of great vehicles, a lot of great characters that you could have put together. Who knows, maybe somebody will do that one day. And you can see here the clam sub in action taking down a cargo ship. And speaking of SpongeBob, the Clam's lieutenant, the guy up there in front, sounds a lot like the one dude who was in the Weenies episode, who's talking to Reg in that image. Look, if you know, you know. And if you know, you probably love it. Next episode involves Dr. Honktoff, who is from the comic books. His henchmen, I'm pretty sure he called them bogus men, really look like they should come out of a Ticker Venture Brothers cartoon. I mean, they really do. You get Professor Darwin, the horrible half-ape, a little Dr. Strangelove action in this one. We're in the days of Bigfoot, UFOs, Bermuda Triangle, Loch Ness Monster, etc. So, of course, we get Hugefoot. He went to college. Shades of Kelsey Grammer playing the Beast. The Mini School 7, who are tiny mobsters. And, of course, the leader sounds like Edward G. Robinson. The Moon Raiders. It's just Moon Raiders. And you do get this tender scene in that one. So, man, alive. You get Superstein, who is extremely well-spoken. The Dog Master. He's a dog-headed guy who controls dogs. Dr. Dome, also a character from the comics, with his daughter Lynx. And it looks like they got him down pretty darn well from the comics. And that is some really, really good cartooning right there. You get Honeybee, who also has this very cool helicopter. Dr. Dinosaur, who has miniaturized dinosaurs that didn't grow large and wreak havoc. The Spider, who can turn people into flies. She-Na-Na and her Empire of Evil, which is just really awesome, but also called She-Na-Na. Carrot Man, he wants money and he hates work. He wants to be a winner. He turns evil after losing on a game show. Computer Head, who will rule over mankind with machines. The Hypnotist and his gun maul, Bubbles. He has like a little Sidney Greenstreet kind of thing going to his voice. But again, the Hypnotist. It's amazing. Bad Aladdin, the magnificent and evil genie who turns teenagers into gold. Stay gold, pony boy, after granting their wishes. And he lives in this completely badass palace on a craggy peak. Eat your heart out, Jafar. The Toy Man, an adult toy collector. And you know, you can't trust adults who collect a lot of toys. They're just weird. Turns people into toys and collects them, which is actually probably cheaper than buying hot toys. Ghostfinger. Allow me to repeat. Ghostfinger, who died in prison but came back to even the score. This episode particularly involves an ex-girlfriend of Plastic Man's named Sally Jones. Kind of like a combination of Daphne and Velma. So we get a little jealousy angle in that one. Highbrow, and yes, that hat covers a really tall head. Highbrow's trying to steal a super train, which looks like it could have come out of a Gerry Anderson show, down to the uniforms of the crew. Kitty Cat, who uses a formula to turn into a black cat, and has eye rays that turn people into felines, which she then captures and ransom. So again, you can see the creativity here. At first glance, oh, it's a Catwoman clone. Probably does some form of, cat burglary. Instead, you get that. And we get this shot of Plastic Man turning his lips into a straw in that one. I just had to share with everybody to upset them. Commodore Peril, I think Plastic Man has as many seagoing villains as Aquaman. The Terrible 5+1. This story actually brings past villains back as this dude, Solex, breaks Computer Head out of prison, escapes in a sweet van that he might have bought secondhand off of Disco Mummy. So basically, we get a supervillain team up in this one. The Weed, Half-Ape, the Clam, and Disco Mummy. So, that's kind of cool. There's sort of a little continuity there. And the backup on that one was Joggernaut, who wants to discover a lost city of gold. Again, with the hotties, though, which 10-year-old kids are just not going to notice. So I have to think that some of these animated women were really there for the fun of the animators. Again, kind of brings up, thoughts of like the Mighty Mouse cartoon and some of that stuff. Dr. Duplicator, who appears to be hanging out with Daria's mom, or maybe the Baroness before she hooked up with Destro, not sure. And he has Moss Men who are working for him. Thunderman, a black supervillain, and his mom, Misty, no relation to Misty Knight, I'll assume, who also have a sweet helicopter. He can control the weather. And when Misty marvels at the tornado he created, he corrected her. It's a Thundarnado, the most powerful tornado ever created. Gotta love it. Count Graffiti is wild. He has a cane with which he can draw things in midair, like those hands, which then come to life. That's actually really, really cool. Here's what the Count looks like. I do believe he's a little person, if I remember correctly. Gearshift Swift is an evil used car salesman who tries to sell planet Earth to aliens. There are many more, but I have been at it for a while here. Take my advice. Give the Plastic Man cartoon a chance. There's some fun stuff here. It did actually make me laugh every once in a while, even though the comedy is aimed more towards kids. Truly staggering cast of supervillains and sidekicks who deserve attention, who deserve to be seen. This is actually a really fun show. Worth watching. Let me know in the comments what you think. If you remember this cartoon, or if you have any questions, I'd love to hear from you. If you enjoyed this little romp through Plastic Man and his comedy adventure show, maybe give it a like, maybe think of subscribing, maybe share with a friend. But until next time, God bless everybody. Please be kind to one another. Have a little bit of fun out there, and I will see you again, hopefully soon, in Dad's Den of Pop Culture. Bye-bye.